Hi everyone, I'm Curt Frye, and in this movie, I would like to show you how to summarize data quickly and also to round values up and down. Summarizing data actually uses a technique that you've probably noticed in the past and then forgotten about 100 times. And what happens is that if you select a set of values, and it needs to be more than one, but let's say that I select cells A4 through A6, and then I look down to the bottom right and I see a summary on the status bar. And you can currently see three values there: the average, the count, and the sum of the values that I selected. So that's pretty cool. If you just want to do a quick sum or find an average, then you can do that by selecting the values you want and looking to the bottom right. You have control over what's displayed on the status bar. So if you right-click the status bar, and it's just kind of over in here, then you'll see at the bottom, you have a list of things that you can select to either show or hide. So you've got the average, you've got the count. You can also count the number of numbers. So for example, if you had a label in there, then that wouldn't be counted. The minimum, the maximum, and the sum. So let's say that I take away the average, so the check mark next to it is gone, and I'll add minimum and maximum and click away. And you can see down on the status bar, I have the count, minimum, maximum, and sum. If I want to go back, I can just re-click or right-click the status bar, and then I'll bring back average, hide minimum and maximum, click away, and I'm back to where I was. So again, this is terrific for quick summaries, and you'll probably end up using it a lot now that you remember that it's there. Now let's talk about rounding values. So rounding values up or down. If you use the round function, then you can round values such as, say, 284.8 based on the decimal component of the value. So in cell C4, I'll type an equal sign, and then the function we'll use is round. And that will be the number that we want to round, and then the number of digits. And in this case, a positive number would mean the number of digits to the right of the decimal point. I'll show you what negative numbers look like a little bit later. So the number is in cell A4, and let's round it to 0 digits. So I'll have 0. Right parentheses and enter, and you can see that it's been rounded up based on the value in A4. Because 0.8, the decimal component of that value, is 0.5 or greater, then Excel rounds up. If it were below 0.5, it would round down. And if I copy the formula in C4 down over C5 and C6 using the fill handle, you can see that the 0.4 is rounded down, and the 0.829 is rounded up. If you always want to round up, then you can use the round up function. So I'll click cell D4, then equal, and we'll use round up. And it's the same as before, the number and the number of digits. So in this case, the number will be an A4, then a comma, and we'll do 0 again. So we have no digits to the right of the decimal point, right parentheses and enter, and we go up to 285. However, if I copy the formula down, you can see that even though the value in A5 has a 0.4 decimal component, it has been rounded up. And as you can guess, that's because the roundup formula will always round up if there's any decimal value over 0. Now let's do the same thing, but with 2 decimal places. So I'll click E4, and then equal A4. Excuse me, I need to do a roundup, which is the function we're using. Very important. The number is in A4, then a comma, and the number of digits is 2. So we're looking 2 digits to the right of the decimal point, and enter. And we get 284.8, so no change. And the reason is that we were looking at, as I said, 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. And now if I copy the formula down, we see no change for 142.4 for the same reason that 284.8 didn't change, but we do see that 147.83 appears for the value in A6. And the reason is that 0.829 rounds up to 0.83. So that's why that happened. And as I mentioned before, negative numbers go to the left of the decimal point. So in F4, I'll type equal and then round up. And the number is in A4, and the number of digits will be -2. So we count to the left of the decimal point and enter, and we get rounded up to 300. And if I drag down, I get 200 and 200. And that's because we are rounding up in every case. If I were to change to -1, then we would look at the tens place instead of the hundreds place. So I will edit the formula in F4. So instead of -2, I'll have -1 and enter. And you can see it goes to 290. That's because we're rounding up 2 places to the left of the decimal point. And I'll press Control Z to undo just so that I have the original -2. Then we can do the same thing for round down, and it operates as you would expect. Instead of rounding up all the time, it rounds down. So in G4 equal, round down, number is A4, then a comma, number of digits will be 0, and enter. So we're rounding down to 284, and basically this will strip any decimal component away. So we've got 142 and 187 based on the corresponding values in A5 and A6. Round down to +2. We'll round down based on the second decimal place, so equal, round down, A4, and then 2, and enter. So 284.8, no change there. But when I copy down, we get 147.82, which is rounding down instead of 187.83 rounding up. And just for completeness, round down -2. So we have round down. Number is A4, number of digits -2, and enter. So we're rounding down to 200. So from 284, going to the second decimal place to the left of the decimal point. And then we should get 100 for the other two. And we do. Two other functions that I'd like to mention that come up in scientific calculations more often than in business, but it's useful in both contexts. And those are ceiling and floor. Ceiling goes up to a specific multiple. So instead of places to the left or right of the decimal point, we are looking at multiples, for example, multiples of 3 or 7. And floor will round down using the same logic. So let's start with the values we had before, but in C9, I want to do ceiling, in other words, rounding up, based on multiples of 3. So in C9, I'll type equal, ceiling.math, and the value is in A9, then a comma, and significance is 3. And right parentheses and enter. And we get 285, which is 95 times 3. And if I copy that down, then I get 144, which is 48 times 3, and 150, which is 50 times 3. We can do the same thing for multiples of 7. So in D9, I'll type equal, ceiling.math. The number is in A9, comma, significance will be 7, right parentheses and enter, we get 287. And then copying down, we get 147 and 154. Floor will go down based on the multiple that we've selected. So in E9, I'll do equal, floor.math, and then the number again is A9, comma, significance is 3. Enter, 282, which is 94 times 3, and copying down, we get 141 and 147. And just for completeness, floor.math based on multiples of 7, we'll do equal. Floor.math, the number is A9, comma 7. Enter. We get 280, which is 7 times 40. And copying down, we get our multiples of 140, which is 20 times 7, and 147, which is 21 times 7. So as you can see, you have a lot of ways to summarize and round values in Microsoft Excel. Which function you use depends upon the output that you want, but you can use what I've shown you here to select the proper function to give your worksheet the results that you need. I hope you enjoyed what I showed you, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to my channel.